Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 most realistic cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. Cars are getting onto this list based on how similar they are in GTA Online to their real-life counterparts that inspired them to exist in the first place. I haven't done one of these lists for a number of years now, but we've got some really great cars added into the game recently that I felt like deserved to be on a list like this. So here we are. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing if you're new. Let's go ahead and get started. So off rip, we have the Bravado Buffalo STX for $1,612,500 to $2,150,000 if you don't have the trade price. The STX was a car that I didn't expect to get when the contract DLC first released, but I was absolutely thrilled to have an updated Dodge Charger be added into the game finally. And I think a lot of people were hoping that it was going to be based more heavily off of the Charger Hellcat, but it is in fact more similar to the Scat Pack 392. Now, it would have been sweet to get some more Hellcat customization for it, or to have even got a Buffalo Hellfire completely separately. Regardless though, this is a pretty damn accurate in-game representation of a 392 Hemi. The customization could have had more, but there's definitely enough to pull off some pretty cool builds. This car also changed the muscle category the minute it was added into GTA, because it instantaneously became the #1 car for racing, largely due to the great handling that the car possesses, as well as the fact that it's got a respectable 126 miles per hour top speed, which is no slouch in the muscle category. Another thing that made this car so incredible is the fact that it could be equipped with Imani Tech, which was brand new at the time, and because it was a first generation Imani Tech car, it got all of the bells and whistles, like the front mounted machine guns, the bullet resistant windows, armor plating, lock-on jammer, and of course the oil slick mine dropper. This car bridges the gap between being highly realistic and extremely useful in-game. Next up, we have the Pfister Comet S2 for $1,878,000. The Pfister Comet S2 is a car that makes me sad. To a degree, I almost wish that Rockstar actually made it look less accurate to the 991 Porsche 911s it's based upon, and instead made it actually drive somewhat similar to them. In real life, 911s are known to be some of the best handling sports cars of all time, whereas in-game, the Pfister Comet S2 is among the cars that have some of the absolute worst handling ever witnessed in GTA Online. Now, luckily for this list, realism is the only thing that's being taken into account, but I thought I would make mention of that because I always do. The thing I like the most about the Comet S2 is the fact that you can make it look like basically any of the range of 991 911s from real life. Whether you want it to be a base Carrera, a GTS, a GT2, GT3, or even a Turbo S, you can pretty much have any of them with a few simple customization options applied to the car. But this of course also means that you can mix and match. So, pretty cool. I wish that Rockstar would do stuff like this more often, to be honest, instead of adding 23 different variants of a car like the Vapid Dominators, for example. Just having one car that you could change up all the panels on and do it that way. Hopefully we get more cars and more customization, and that would be cool. It's a real shame the S2 turned out the way that it did, because honestly everything else about this car other than the handling is actually pretty great. Moving on, next up we have the Enos Paragon R for $905,000, and this is based off of the Bentley Continental GT, of which there are many trims, different submodels, and spin-offs, which makes it kind of hard to determine exactly which one the Paragon R is based off of primarily, but I'd say the most accurate would be the 3rd generation Continental GTs that were introduced in 2017 and carried on all the way until just last year. The Paragon R in-game is extremely accurate, only missing the famous W12 engine in-game. Customization-wise, there aren't necessarily a lot of options, but there are some pretty fantastic selections that can be made. Performance-wise, in-game, the car almost certainly handles better than the real-life variant, because the in-game variant doesn't weigh 5,000 pounds. It does feature all-wheel drive like the real-life versions, which will help it to get off the line quickly, and it has a reasonable in-game top speed of 123 miles per hour. So if you're in the market for a hyper-realistic Bentley in GTA Online, this is the car for you. Moving on, up next we have the Gallivanter Baller STD for $1,715,000. Most of the STD's design cues are from the 5th generation of Land Rover's Range Rover lineup, produced from 2021 onwards. It takes design elements from a range of different models among the currently available lineup. The customization also references multiple different levels of trim, as well as commonly changed cosmetic pieces by aftermarket tuning and customization companies. In-game, the Gallivanter Baller STD is one of the fastest SUVs. It features all-wheel drive, great acceleration, and much better cornering than every other Gallivanter Baller in GTA Online. The typical Gallivanter Baller understeer issue is vastly improved with the STD, and it also gets access to Imani tech with the lock-on jammer, and quite oddly, it has bullet-resistant windows like the first generation of Imani tech cars, like the Bravado Buffalo STX that we went over earlier, for example. However, it lacks the machine guns that the first generation vehicles got, which is quite odd. Customization wise, this vehicle has a ton that can be done to it, enough to actually make it one of the most customizable SUVs in GTA Online. It's a pretty fantastic car overall, and it's not grossly overpriced for what you're getting in return. Moving on, we have the Ubermarkt Niobe for $1,880,000. The Niobe in GTA Online is what the BMW i8 should have been in real life. This thing looks like pretty much a one-to-one copy of the real life car, but what's different about it is that it's actually fast in GTA, unlike in real life. Customization wise, I almost feel like most of the options don't actually really fit the car, but the stock Niobe is still extremely accurate to the real life version. With HSW equipped on it, it's actually one of the fastest cars in the entire game, topping out at a whopping 159 miles per hour. And whether it's going in a straight line or on a racing circuit, this thing will nearly dominate everything else in the entire game. It's all-wheel drive and it feels like it's on rails, and Niobe in GTA really makes me wish that the BMW i8 in real life was just a better car for car enthusiasts. Imagine how amazing a car that looks like this could have been if it had just had BMW's M5 twin-turbo V8 from the same year in it instead of the 3-cylinder hybrid thing. Now, I guess it's kind of cool that it had a hybrid, I guess, but to me, the $135,000 MSRP at the time it was released kind of warranted a V8, but maybe I'm insane. Up next, we have the Coquette D10 for $1,510,000. When I first saw the Coquette D10 in GTA Online, I was absolutely shocked at just how realistic the car looked compared to its real-life C8 Stingray counterpart. The customization options basically felt like they were ripped straight out of the Chevrolet specking website, and in-game the D10 is a decently fast car in a straight line. In the corners, it's not exactly super awesome at getting through them very fast, but it certainly is good at letting you have a lot of fun in the corners due to the oversteer that this car generally experiences. For the relatively low price of 1.5 mil, I actually feel like this car is a pretty great overall package, and if you want something realistic that's also a good driver's car, other than the vents behind the doors being upside down, this is basically a one-to-one of the Chevy C8 Corvette in real life, but in GTA Online. Up next, we got the Canis Terminus for $1,877,500. As a person who actually kind of despises Jeeps in real life, I absolutely love the Canis Terminus in GTA Online. In fact, I would actually say that honestly, because of just how good this vehicle looks and performs in GTA, I hate Jeep Wranglers in real life a little bit less. The Terminus specifically is based off of the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, specifically taking almost all inspiration from the JL generation of Wranglers. Yes, I had to look that up because I do not care enough about Jeeps to actually find that out or know that information off the top of my head. Customization wise, there's lots that can be fitted onto the vehicle that also parodies real life customization mods that people do often, like the partial headlight covers that make the Terminus look angry. There's also plenty more that can be done to the vehicle, giving you the ability to live out your white girl fantasy with no roof on the vehicle or make a full overlanding build. Like in real life, the Terminus is fantastic off-road. In fact, it's actually the best off-road class vehicle in the entire game for racing, not counting anything HSW. There's also a police variant if you feel like spending more than double the cost of the regular Canis Terminus as well. Up next, the Benefactor Schlagen GT for $1,300,000. This is the third most realistic car in GTA Online, and it's based off of the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT, which was produced from late 2014 all the way to 2023 in some trim levels. However, the car has had some major changes in its most recent iteration that begun production in 2024. The Schlagen GT is based off of the first generation primarily, with some customization options that reference later trim levels and submodels of the AMG GT, like the AMG GTR, for example. In-game, this car is a riot to drive. Because it's rear-wheel drive and front-engined, it lights up the rear tires like crazy. It can actually be pretty tame to drive as well if that's what you're going for, but you can also have a lot of fun with it really easily. And even accidentally sometimes as well. Customization-wise, there's a lot for a car that was added into the game in early 2019. And I do wish it had just a little bit more to offer on the customization front, but either way, it's amazingly reminiscent of the real-life version of the car. The price tag is honestly pretty reasonable as well, all things considered. As far as cars go in GTA Online, this has got to be one of the most beautiful examples in the entire game. Although I'm not sure that we can fully credit Rockstar with making it look so great, considering it's pretty much a one-to-one of the real-life car. Up next, the Ubermacht Sentinel GTS for $1,629,000 if you have the trade price, or $2,172,000 if you don't. This is the newest car on the list by far, and it's based off of one of the most popular cars on any social media site that you use, which is of course the BMW G80 M3. In-game, Rockstar absolutely nailed the car. It looks fantastic with all the same proportions of the real-life vehicle. I can also say pretty confidently it drives similarly in-game to how it drives in real life, with excellent handling and aggressive acceleration. Unfortunately, the in-game version is nowhere near as fast as the real-life version, topping out at a respectable 132 miles per hour in-game. Now, the GTS has some okay customization in-game, however, the real-life car has significantly more customization options available for it. Now, while this is the case for most cars, I do feel a little bit disappointed in the Sentinel GTS's customization in-game. I feel like there could have been way more options for the car that could have been come up with pretty easily, especially considering how many different builds of the car you will see if you spend 3 minutes on Instagram Reels. Regardless, this is one of the most realistic depictions of a real-life car in a video game that's supposed to have fictional car brands. Now for a couple of honorable mentions, and starting us off, we have the Pegassi Ignis for $2,765,000. This has got to be one of the most beautiful cars in the entire game, looking absolutely incredible from every single angle. Now, not to discredit the GTA Online designer's work, but I think the biggest reason for this is the absolute copyright infringement that occurred when this car was being designed in GTA. It's pretty much a one-to-one copy of the real-life Lamborghini Sian, an extremely rare limited edition run of basically an Aventador chassis and engine with new body panels over top and slightly more horsepower. Now, these cars were pretty much exclusive for Lamborghini's best customers, and only 82 of these cars exist in real life, but luckily the Ignis is a lot more attainable in GTA Online, despite the $2,765,000 price tag. In-game, this car is all-wheel drive just like in real life, and it corners extremely well with tons of grip and a little tiny bit of oversteer. But thankfully, no understeer to be seen with this vehicle. Customization for this car is pretty extensive, offering many different cosmetic options like spoilers, bumpers, skirts, and many more. And if you don't consider HSW cars, the Ignis is one of the top 10 fastest supercars to race with in the supercars category. However, if you have it available on your platform, there is of course the weaponized Ignis, which is quite literally the fastest supercar in the entire game for racing on a circuit. But it'll cost you $4,500,000, and it comes equipped with a missile lock-on jammer and a roof-mounted minigun. Honestly though, I can't be the only one who kind of wishes the regular Ignis also had HSW. Right? And for our second and final honorable mention, we have the Grotti Italia GTO for $1,965,000. The Italia GTO's looks are largely derived from those of the Ferrari 812 Superfast in real life, which was produced from 2017 to 2024. However, it does also take some inspiration from the Ferrari F12, which is the predecessor of the 812. This stopped production in 2017. Customization-wise, the in-game version has a massive amount of customization, allowing you to make multiple different styles of builds. The Italia GTO absolutely dominated the sports class in GTA Online ever since it was added to the game in the winter of 2018. The car has all-wheel drive and some sort of affinity for bumps because it gets a massive speed boost when you go over them, which is partly why it is so good at racing. The GTO is incredibly satisfying to drive once you master it, but even for an all-wheel drive car, it is somewhat difficult to drive due to the bouncy nature of its suspension. It is truly one of the best cars in the entire game still to this day. It's not the most realistic looking car in the game, hence it being an honorable mention, but I felt like it was good enough to make a spot somewhere on the list. But of course, at number 1, we have the Grotti Turismo Omaggio. For $2,845,000, this is the most realistic car I've personally witnessed in the 2 years since I made the last list like this. This thing is derived from the Ferrari F8, and while this car does have some nods to other Ferrari models, like the 488 Pista for example, it's pretty hard to deny that this vehicle is through and through an F8 Tributo. The Omaggio has a good amount of customization, however it kind of feels like a vast amount of the customization options and combinations for this car don't really add up to much. There's plenty of liveries, bumpers, and more, but it all feels a little bit too aggressive for the car in my opinion. I think this car is best left almost stock, but I will say I guess having the option to go to the other end of the spectrum is still nice. This car handles phenomenally, I love how it drives, it feels well balanced in the corners, and on the straights it's very stable. Despite being rear wheel drive, it's kind of a car that feels like it's hard to screw up with while driving. This car is definitely deserving of the number 1 spot on this list, and I can't honestly think of another car that looks this close to the real life counterpart other than maybe the Sentinel GTS. But anyway guys, there you have it. That has been it for my list of the most realistic cars in GTA Online. Let me know what you thought of my list. Do you think I snubbed anything? Do you think I missed anything? Would you have changed something out? Let me know in the comments down below. Comment a 7 if you made it to the end of the video. Consider dropping a like if you enjoyed, and subscribing if you're new. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.